Hey everyone, this is Shahaf, and we are celebrating COTI's mainnet launch, the third year anniversary this week. So today I'm not going to discuss what I usually discuss, which is the short-term updates, what's happening right now. What I would like to do today is talk about the future, what will happen in the coming years with COTI. So bear with me, I think this will be super interesting, and if you're thinking about COTI long-term, you will want to watch this video and fully grasp everything that I'm about to discuss today. So let's begin with some context, some background, what's happening right now. And again, I'm not talking about cycles, I'm talking about what's happening right now globally in terms of crypto. Now, what we see is that more and more enterprises are looking into digital currency. And I do not mean accepting crypto payments as part of their marketing funnel. Not that. I'm talking about issuing currencies for various use cases. And loyalty and payments are the vast majority of what companies are looking into right now. Other than that, central banks are looking into issuing digital currencies. The numbers are staggering. I think about more than 80% of central banks are looking into that. Central bank in Israel is looking into that. In Europe, a lot of the central banks. So essentially, pretty much everywhere, central banks are looking into digital currencies as well. So there is a demand for these new types of private currencies, enterprise tokens, CBDCs, and so on and so forth, that is rising. And we've been saying since 2017 that, and it's still true, that the layer ones that we have right now are not purpose fit for what the enterprise need are, and essentially this is why enterprise blockchain has pretty much failed to date. So what I want to say today is that COTI's trust chain is going to be the enterprise layer one. This is what we're building. This is bigger than payments. We are building the enterprise layer one, and I can prove why COTI will be a lot better to that purpose than other layer ones. And other layer ones can be great for other things, can be better than COTI for other things. But when it comes to the enterprise layer one, COTI will be number one. To add to that, to the context and what's happening, we see a lot of regulation coming. And regulators will regulate. That's the truth of this world. You can like it, you cannot like it, but just burying your head in the sand does not mean that reality is not coming. And regulators will regulate. And we saw that. We saw that very early on, and COTI is the only layer one that has done KYC and AML to all participants that hold the native assets. And regulators will regulate. So that's another thing that is happening, in the background. And two things that are specific to COTI that has kind of aligned and brought us to the seminal moment where the trust chain is going to be 3 years old, and there's two breakthroughs that are happening. One is that the fact that the Treasury has amassed a lot of COTI into it, and has a lot of capital into it. And that creates new types of opportunities. But the other thing that is super important is that COTI will soon, with Multi-DAG 2.0, will allow the issuance of new tokens on top of the chain. So if you look at the demand that is growing from enterprises, the fact that they can't really use the current layer ones to what they need. So if I'm an enterprise and I want to create a payment token to be used with my users, right? I'm a big e-commerce company. I have a lot of users. I want to issue a currency that will allow them to pay for products, and I can, if I need to send them money, I can send that. So this network is creating, this private payment network is being created, or loyalty. Can't really use the current layer ones, whether it's cost or other things that we'll discuss. So that demand is rising. COTI is getting ready with Multi-DAG 2.0. We are also regulation ready. It all clicks as COTI is 3 years old. And I think what will happen in the coming years is super exciting because COTI will be the enterprise layer 1. So let me dive into the details right now. When you think about enterprise, being an enterprise layer 1, there are 3 things that makes COTI unique and purpose-fit for that. One is the fact that COTI has unique technology, right? And I'll dive into that in a second. The second thing is that COTI is regulation ready. And the third thing is that COTI is an enterprise-grade product. So let's begin with technology. So 3 things to think about when you think about COTI's unique technology. The first one, everybody knows, COTI is based on a DAG, not on a chain of blocks, but on a graph, on a mesh. This allows for scalability. And scalability is important, for various things, but specifically when it comes to enterprise needs, enterprise is going to serve a lot of users concurrently. They need scale. So COTI has that. Cost, right? Because even paying a few dollars and obviously, paying tens of dollars for a transaction is too much when it comes to the sort of things that an enterprise needs. Instant settlement, and COTI brings that specifically. Privacy, right? So on the one hand, when it comes to building a private payment network for an enterprise, for instance, you do want to allow a certain degree of transparency, but on the other hand, right, maybe as a buyer, I don't want everybody to know what I'm buying and when and where, right? So there's this multi-privacy layer that COTI brings in that is super important for this purpose. And lastly, of course, multi-DAG 2.0, the fact that you can issue tokens on top of our infrastructure, which is obvious, right, on Solana, on Ethereum, but it's not that obvious when it comes to DAGs, and we can offer that pretty soon. The second thing that is very important to enterprises is the fact that COTI's consensus mechanism is eco-friendly, right? In Europe, for instance, there's a lot of investigation into, hey, can we allow proof of work sort of consensus be used widely? The fact that they are not eco-friendly is super important in Europe, for instance. But in other regions, people are looking into that as well. And there are a lot of things that enterprises will just not do, not because they have a specific care about the environment, and a lot of them do have. I don't want to be cynical about it, but the fact that it's the law, right? They can do certain things, and when it comes to the sort of consensus that the layer 1 has, if we are eco-friendly, that's a big advantage. So we have that as well with proof of trust. Now the last thing, and it's kind of like a nugget in our white paper, but I don't think that a lot of people actually paid attention to that fact. It's a mechanism that is called payment request. What it does is that if I, as a merchant or an enterprise, wish to receive a payment, right, or some value from a user, that user doesn't need to have COTI in his wallet in order to send me the payment. Again, let's say I'm an enterprise, I want to build on top of Ethereum private payment network, never mind the gas cost, the scalability, let's say all of that is solved down the line. The fact is that I will need to educate my entire user base, not just the crypto brothers, my entire user base. Hey, there's a token out there called Ethereum, you need to figure out how to buy it, you need a wallet, you need to put that Ethereum in the wallet, and then you need to replenish that when that is done. This is serious problem when it comes to adoption. The mass audience of users, when they open a wallet, they want a PayPal experience, username and password, and I'm ready to pay, right? COTI is the only layer 1 that has this ability. The enterprise can pay the gas fees for that transaction for the user. Who else offers that? Only COTI. And that means adoption, because it means that as an enterprise, I can use COTI's infrastructure, and all that my users will need to have is the enterprise token. They do not need to have gas fees. I, the enterprise, will cover these costs like it is in real life with traditional payments. The merchant is the one that pays for the transaction costs. So we can offer that, nobody else does. So all these pieces of unique technology, being based on a graph, being eco-friendly, and having these payment request mechanisms are unique to COTI, and this is why COTI will be better when it comes to being the enterprise level one. Being regulation ready. Do not expect enterprises to behave the same way that retail can, right? As citizens of the world, we can do sort of things and bear certain risks that enterprises will just not do. They have their core business, they care about this core business. They will never build something, a private payment network, if that can jeopardize the crown, if that can jeopardize their entire business. And you need to be regulation ready if you want to work with enterprises. And again, I'm stating it again, COTI is the only layer 1 out there that has done KYC and AML to all holders since inception in 2017. People used to mock us about this back then. Why do you do that? Nobody's doing that. And we said, someday this will be critical. And you know what? It is. Exchanges do KYC, AML right now. If you want to have, a regulated DeFi pool, you do KYC, AML right now. But what happens, if you are a layer 1 or someone else that is building this sort of solution, what about your history, right? And regulators will say, it's great that you can, verify users from this point onwards, but what about all these tokens and value that you already have in circulation? Have you ever done KYC and AML to that? How do we know that this is not money laundering, or whatever? You can't prove that. COTI can, because we've done KYC and AML since day 1 to everybody. And this is critical when it comes to enterprises, because we can have this offering and say, hey, the COTI that you have to pay for the gas fees for everybody that is using your solution has been KYC and AML entirely since day 1. Our treasury, with all the COTI in it, that in the hundreds of millions right now, also clean. It has been KYC and AML since day 1. So this, clean liquidity layer is amazing when it comes to our offering. Other than that, COTI has been very prudent in its approach to licenses and abiding regulation. And again, there are all types of solutions out there, dApps or DeFi, certain things can allow themselves to behave in one way. But if you are aiming to work with enterprises and major clients of the world, you better abide to regulation, because even if it's a risk that you're willing to take, it's not a risk that they're willing to take. And they will not incorporate your solution because you're risky for them. They do not need to add risk. So this is the second advantage that we have. And you know what's the greatest proof of that? JED. Being the JED issuer, Cardano is, it sits in the tens of billions in terms of value, and they let COTI be the issuer of a stablecoin or of an over-collateralized algorithmic stablecoins because of why? Because we can be trusted, because of our prudent approach to licenses and how we act in this world, right? So this is a great proof of that. So regulation ready is the second pillar of what we do. Now the last thing is the fact that even if you had the best technology out there, you can still not be an enterprise-grade product. What does it mean to be an enterprise-grade product? First, let's understand how enterprises work. Or let me reverse that in a second. Let's look at Ethereum again, because it's easy, right? Ethereum is awesome and it's amazing. But Ethereum, there's a foundation that develops the protocol, and all of developers that develop around the open source thing, which is awesome. But as an enterprise, if you want to build a solution, what do? Right? You need to find developers or integrators. You need this company to develop it for you, right? They don't own the protocol. They don't have access to the protocols. They can do tweaks, anything, right? They are building, pieces. They need to figure out wallet. They need to figure out crypto gateways. They need to figure out a lot of things, fiat on-ramp, off-ramp, integrate all these solutions. But they have no access to the protocol itself, right? They don't know if something changes. They need to change. So as an enterprise, you don't have the sort of control or predictability that you want to have when you develop things, right? Anybody that has ever developed anything for an enterprise understands this. Enterprise need to have like a deep understanding and predictability in the sort of products that they have, because tens of millions of users are going to use it, right? You can have surprises with it. So there's a separation today everywhere, right? Solana is not different, Cardano is not different, right? You have Cardano, which is the foundation that is around the protocol, and then you have IOG, which is a commercialization company of sorts, right? It's very different. So everywhere there's this separation. And it's great maybe for the protocol, but it's not that good for an enterprise that wishes to develop. COTI is not a foundation. It's a for-profit company, it's an NTD, right? And we develop practical solutions for enterprises, and we have insight into the entire stack. So we can offer this, hey, you need to work with one company and everything is ready. So this is a super important thing just in the basic mentality of how enterprises work. They have a single point of contact that can develop an A to Z solution. And an A to Z solution or turnkey solution is indeed what we offer, right? We can white label our entire infrastructure, right? When it comes to wallet, so we can take the COTI Pay business stack and white label everything for an enterprise, right? So an enterprise can say, hey, again, I'm a big e-commerce company, I want to issue a payment token, what's next? Hey, here's a wallet for your users, here is a wallet for you as an enterprise, here is the crypto gateway, here's the fiat on-ramp and off-ramp that you will need, debit cards, bank accounts, the entire stack can be white labeled. And the fact that an enterprise can work with a single point of contact and receive everything that is white labeled and customized for them, it's amazing. And this is like the third big advantage that we have. So again, unique technology, regulation ready, and an enterprise grade product. I would like to just summarize to explain when it comes to being the enterprise layer 1, why other layer 1s have kind of failed with this or have not been optimized for this, and how COTI is optimized for this. So number one fact, and again, we've been talking to a lot of enterprises, right? Just thinking about, hey, I want to build a payment network, like the usual thing that they will say is, I understand the disadvantages of traditional payment networks. Everybody understands that. The traditional payment networks understands the disadvantages of traditional payment networks. So this is like not a secret. So hey, I understand this, but when I try to add crypto to my system, to have these digital rails, I've just replaced this type of problems with a new type of problems. So what am I supposed to do? And COTI is the solution, and I'll explain why. So with other layer 1s, the first thing is that they're too expensive and too slow for what enterprises need when it comes to building their private payment network or loyalty network. Not all of them, but most of them are just too expensive and too slow. COTI is based on a graph, it's DAG-based, it's fast, and it will be faster as the network grows, which is counterintuitive. But when there are more transactions, the network is actually faster. And Explorer 2.0 is coming, you can actually see how fast transactions can be confirmed. So COTI is fast, and it's very cost effective. The second problem that other layer 1s have is that the fact that they're difficult for enterprises just to develop around it. Enterprises, don't want to hire a lot of Solidity developers or whatever the case will be, or integrators that will need to work around a lot of things. COTI offers a turnkey solution to enterprises, and this is what they're looking for. The third thing is that, again, not thinking about the sort of people that are already into crypto, thinking about your friends that are not into crypto right now, your parents maybe, right? There's friction of adoption to users when it comes to using current layer 1s because you need specific wallets, or there can be many, but you need specific wallets, and you need to have the gas token coin in your wallet. You need to figure out how to get this, and then you need to put it on your wallet. It's frictionless. It's a lot of friction, and think about it, right? Think about you going into a casino, you give some money, you take tokens, and you can play. This is frictionless. But what if when you are going to the cashier, they will tell you, hey, you know what, yeah, give us money, take these tokens, sure, but you will need to go out there, figure out on the street where you buy other type of tokens, these little yellow tokens that you will need to use whenever you want to gamble in our casino, and when they're depleted, go out in the street, figure out where to get them, and what? Doesn't make any sense. So, friction that comes with other layer ones does not happen with COTI because of the payment request solution. Lastly, regulation, as I mentioned, other layer ones can create some regulatory headwind that COTI does not, because COTI is regulation ready since day one. So this kind of covers the big differences, and this is why we believe COTI will be the enterprise layer one. What to expect? First, when it comes to the roadmap, the things that are important and are coming are obviously Multi-DAG 2.0, the new Explorer, the new Bridge, and some upgrades to the treasury. So this is the important things to look at when it comes to releasing. The second thing that everybody is looking for are, hey, this sounds great, but how do you know enterprises actually want this? So I wouldn't say all of this if I wasn't already speaking with enterprises, a lot of them. And what you can expect, and again, I do not refer to any timeline, I do not say anything right now, other than the fact that you can expect enterprise clients to use the product, and we will continuously update on this. And again, this is not, small, this is big. This is the sort of adoption that everybody's been looking for. When we were saying that we want institutions to come into crypto, we weren't just talking about money put into DeFi or them buying Bitcoin. I'm talking about the fact that if COTI's sort of solution can be embedded to an enterprise that has millions of users or tens of millions of users out there, this is serious adoption. This is the next 100 million users in crypto. And lastly, what you can expect is obviously us in the coming weeks and months communicating this vision of COTI being the enterprise layer one. And if you're watching this video, you already care about COTI, and I would like you to help us share this. Let everybody know that COTI is the enterprise layer one. So this has been, I think one of the most important updates I gave today. I explained why everything sort of led us to this point. It's up to us to prove what we've just said, and the proof is in eating the pudding. The proof is in bringing the enterprises to use COTI, and trust us to take care of this. So keep following us, and always stay COTI.